Welcome to the 9th episode of the Happy Veg Animal News Recap. It has probably been like over 2 months since my last video, and if any of you who have been watching recall, I did say that I was going to try and do videos once a week, and here we are at the 2-month mark, so evidently that has not happened. Being that I'm leaving for Ireland in 2 months, my focus has pretty much solely been on working, and working so much is helping like the time pass, and like it seems like my trip is coming closer and closer every day, but it's also like taking away from things that I want to be doing, like doing these videos, which, believe it or not, for only 20 minutes and 2 topics, takes a long time to get it done, especially if you mess up, because then you're stopping and starting 100 times. Anyways, so hopefully we see more of my videos coming up as well. When I head to Ireland, I'm going to be trying to do something a little bit different, and I want to do like some travel videos. So some of the places that I want to check out, like some of the castles in the countryside or the Cliffs of Moher, I really want to like film and give some information and do a little bit of history, in regards to those things. So hopefully, if all goes well, I'll be able to start doing that a couple weeks after arriving in Ireland. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I've got 2 topics to talk to you guys about today. Starting with the first one, we're going to go to British Columbia. We've been here several times before. Even in the last year, I've reported on 2 other instances in regards to animal cruelty and animal abuse on a chicken factory farm. And here we are again, once again, going to another chicken facility in British Columbia, where a whistleblower who was employed through the company, Elite, worked there for 1 month, and in that month videotaped several horrific things that were happening like within the facility. So in the video, the people who watched the video explained that it was probably one of the most gruesome demonstrations of animal cruelty that they had ever witnessed. Of the 3 that I have, or of the 2, including this one that I have previously discussed, this one is probably on the top as far as being the most like blatantly abusive to animals. In the video, chickens in the facility were kicked, they were punched, they were thrown, they were used in sexually explicit jokes, which, you have to be pretty effed to do anything like that as far as like sexually explicit anything having to do with an animal. And lastly, some of the chickens were literally torn limb from limb while still being alive. Obviously, it's not as gruesome to hear it, but it's significantly more gruesome to watch it. So be happy that I'm just explaining it and not showing you. So the company president fired 5 employees, including a supervisor, that were seen on the video. But animal rights groups, specifically the Mercy for Animals, thinks that that is not enough, and I wholeheartedly agree. They filed a complaint with the RCMP, the British Columbia SPCA, and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency filed a complaint calling for charges, animal cruelty charges, against all the workers, the managers, the supervisors, and the company itself, the owners of the company, saying that all of them need to be charged. Considering the nature of the video and how gruesome and how grotesque it was, it should be acceptable that all of the people right up to the owners of the company are charged. And here's why I think that. For me, if I was running a business, and let's say a restaurant, and I have employees that are stealing, or I have employees that are like spitting in food or anything along those lines, how long should that go on before I'm responsible? Before I, as the owner, am responsible? Because what this implies is that I am not monitoring my business well enough. And in this instance, the company is trying to suggest that they will cooperate with any kind of like disciplinary action that's taken. But at the end of the day, you are going to be under those disciplinary actions as well. A month, these videos were recorded over the course of a month. So that means in 1 month's time, all of this stuff was happening. And according to one of the supervisors who was fired, who wanted to remain anonymous, he stated that he had repeatedly mentioned to managers and owners that this sort of stuff was happening, and it was never addressed. So that right there is evidence in itself that the owners of the company need to be held accountable. Also, these things trickle down. So if the top doesn't care, why should the bottom care about these chickens? Or, the cruelty in regards to how the chickens are treated? Evidently, these sorts of companies look at these animals as products. So these products are being thrown around. These products are being emotionally, tormented. These products are being beaten, ripped apart. That reflects on you. This is your business. And if this is the kind of stuff that's happening in your business, you are going to be held accountable. Especially, as I said, this is 1 month's time that this amount of stuff was happening and nothing was done. So what are you monitoring? Elite claims, like I said, that they addressed the problem. They got rid of the people that were on the videotape. They say it doesn't sit in line with their morals. But at the end of the day, like 1 month you didn't notice one thing, or 1 month you decided to ignore people that were coming to you telling you that this sort of stuff was happening. So, saying it's not in line with your morals really falls on deaf ears, because your morals evidently aren't apparent in this case. These sorts of things that are happening in your facility, they need to be addressed. And if you're not willing to address them, I hope that these charges that come about from this make it so that not only them, but all of these facilities that are operating, chicken processing plants and slaughterhouses, this is the third one in BC that's been busted for animal cruelty, that's been exposed for being extremely cruel to the chickens. So, eye-opener to all the rest of those chicken processing facilities or slaughterhouses out there. You need to be monitoring your facility a little bit better. This sort of stuff could very well be happening in your facility right now. And at the end of the day, you're going to hire somebody who's there to expose you. And that's the way it is. So, the moral of this story is I want to see the top, and I want to see everybody else below charged with animal cruelty, convicted of animal cruelty, and hopefully penalized to the full extent of the law, teaching them a lesson, but also setting an example for the remainder of those facilities that sort of, abuse and cruelty is not going to be tolerated. Now, I gave up eggs for a very long time because I just didn't know enough about where to purchase them, where I was getting my eggs from. I knew that the eggs that I was going to buy at the supermarket were likely from farms much like these ones, where the animals were probably mistreated. They were probably kept in crates. They probably weren't allowed to move. They probably were beaten, tortured, etc., etc. So I chose to, with the exception of a few times, I chose to cut eggs out of my diet. I've recently re-included them, and the reason for that is educating myself. A friend of mine, a coworker actually, she has her own chickens, and I've taken a dozen eggs from her, knowing that those chickens are loved, they're given a good life, they have freedom of movement, they have pretty much accessible shelter, food, and they're treated well. And that's the kind of product that I want to take. So here's my message. Those of you who are a vegan, obviously, kudos to you. You don't have to worry about this. But calling all the vegetarians out there, do your research. When you go to the supermarket and you see organic or you see free range, before you purchase, get your butts home, get online, and Google these facilities. If they're local, go and tour the facilities. Ask the owners or operators of these places if they'll allow you to take a tour of the facility. Somebody who has nothing to hide, or somebody who is not making false claims about their product, will have no problem letting you in and letting you see what happens, what kind of condition their chickens live in. So, do your research. As I said, I have now found one group, or one or two groups that I'm doing a little bit more research on and trying to find out, all the details about their facility. They're not extremely local, but if I can confirm that these eggs are coming from chickens that are treated well, I have no problem eating them. I just refuse to eat eggs that come from places like this BC farm where the animals are abused and neglected and mistreated. So, moral of the story, do your research, find out where your products are coming from, and then you don't have to worry about, eating products that are tainted with torture and cruelty, etc., etc. So do your research, go online, Google the facility, learn as much as you can about them before you support them, because at the end of the day, you could be supporting something like this. And if that's what it comes down to, cut it out of your diet entirely, because it's not worth it. You're contributing to something that is much bigger and much more tumultuous than, we even are aware of. So hopefully, I'll try and do some more research about this. I'll try and get back to you guys on whether or not everybody that trickled down in this situation was charged with animal cruelty. Hopefully we do see it. And as I said, hopefully we either see factory farming shape up or ship out, because that's what I want to see. Moving on. This is a pretty controversial topic. Okay, let me just tell you what it's about first. Kenya is cracking down on poaching in an effort to save a lot of the animals that they have on their territory that are endangered, or, rhinos, elephants, ostriches, zebras, all of these animals, that are being poached for their pelts, for their skins, for their claws, their teeth, their tusks, etc., etc. Kenya is cracking down. Up until most recently, they're currently in the process of trying to put a law into place that will allow for the death penalty for convicted poaching. Currently, there is a $200,000 US fine or life in prison. They're stating that, 2013 and 2014 were some of the worst years for poaching in Kenya. And flash forward to now, it has dropped significantly. I think they said 99 of 39,000 elephants and 9 of the 1,000 rhinos left were poached this past year. That's still too many, but that's evidence that the methods that they're currently using are working. So the United Nations obviously is in a position where they're trying to abolish capital punishment altogether. I do agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with the death penalty. I feel like it's too easy. If you've done something that puts you in a position where you either need life imprisonment or a capital punishment, I think you deserve life in prison. I think you deserve to spend the rest of your miserable life rotting in a prison cell, reflecting on what you did, hopefully, learning some kind of a lesson. I don't know what happens behind bars. I don't know if somebody who's committed some sort of atrocious crime like this is really going to even care that they're in prison. But at the end of the day, it gets them off the streets, and it also avoids having to put them to death. Kenya is stating that they don't feel like the current methods are enough of a deterrent because people are still poaching. That's true. Now, here's my conflict, and I'm super curious. I would love to get you guys' comments in the comment section below, or you can comment on the post through my blog. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that capital punishment is acceptable for poaching? Now, if we were talking about poaching of animals that were in abundance, obviously that's an easy decision, but we're talking about animals that are either endangered or, facing extinction. So, let's put it into perspective here. These people are poaching these animals that they know are endangered. So it's obviously a very blatant disregard for, law, specifically for the law, which states that you cannot poach, but it's also a blatant disregard of the entire species. You are knowingly hunting an animal, knowingly hunting a creature that is at risk of, dropping off the face of the planet. So I do think you deserve the highest amount of punishment. I do think that you're doing something that you know darn well is completely unacceptable and is detrimental to an entire species. So, evidently you are aware, evidently you don't care. So where do we go from here? Does this warrant a death penalty is what I'm questioning. Especially when you consider Kenya has reported that poaching is on the decline. So, in the 4 or 5 years that the first law that was put into place with the $200,000 US fine or life in prison, in the 4 years that that's been put in place, we've seen significant drops in poaching. So do we hold on to that and we just keep hoping that things get better? When you look at 9 out of 1,000 rhinos in a year that were slaughtered, I feel like this method is working. I feel like taking the next step and saying that you're going to die if you do something like this, I do think it's going to be a deterrent, but I don't think it's going to be any more of a deterrent than what's currently in place. Fear of life imprisonment or fear of death, both of those things to me kind of equate to the same thing. If anything, somebody who's like, oh, well, I'm risking my life for this. Obviously, will they think twice about it? I don't know. But you're risking your life by being in prison for the rest of your life also. So I don't know. I don't know if this means that we'll see a complete abolishment of poaching in Kenya, or whether or not it's still going to continue, and now we're just going to see people being put to death. I personally agree with life imprisonment as well as a substantial fine. Those two things in conjunction, in their current law states one or the other. These two things working in conjunction, that's pretty much destroying any remainder of life that you're going to have. So knowing that poaching is on the decline, knowing that the methods that are currently in place are working, and knowing that the speed at which these animals are being killed, in the case of the rhinos, they're saying that they're not reproducing as fast as they're being killed. So evidently, there needs to be drastic measures taken. I just don't know if I agree with capital punishment. So this is the conflict. We're looking at an entire species that could be wiped off the face of the earth. So yes, extreme measures need to be taken, but how extreme? That's where I'm on the fence. So I definitely want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? We're talking about elephants. We're talking about rhinos, which we've already seen some subspecies of rhinos go extinct this past year. So do you guys agree with capital punishment for poaching? Do we think it needs to be at that level where people are put to death for the slaughtering of these animals? I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what you guys think. I want to see your comments in the comment section. And like I said, you can comment me on Facebook, Twitter, even hit me up on Instagram. And also check out the links to the original stories. I left them in the description, as well as the link to my blog. Head to the blog to get the details on this full story, as well as the links to the original stories where you can read up and get all the information you need to make an educated decision, and comment below in the comment section. Again, like, I love to hear from you guys. I totally want to know what you think about this death penalty thing. And also, like, if you guys have any stories about eggs, any of you vegetarians out there who are sourcing local eggs, or who've done your research and, you know, found out where to get organic free-range eggs and know where these places are, I want to know where they are. I would love to have your help and some information in regards to, you know, what companies are doing things right. You know, it took me 3 months to make this video. I just don't have an abundance of time. So any information you guys have, definitely helpful to me. So again, leave your comments in the comment section. Check out the description. Head to my blog. Check out all my recipes, all my animal rights stories. Check out everything vegetarian lifestyle blog. And make sure to like and subscribe to this video and to my channel. More videos coming. And like I said, I'll be in Dublin soon. I'll have tons of travel videos for you guys. And I look forward to continuing to put more videos out. Fingers crossed, my next video will be in the next few weeks and not the next few months. All right, take it easy. Until next time.